All right, kicking off session number 5, IDNs and ccTLDs. I'm sure you all wonder, when did all of this infrastructure come into place in Afghanistan? Because before 2001 or 2002, we had no infrastructure, no technical capacity in place, and everything came into place in the year 2001/2002. I'll go back and quote Mr. Marjan, who said that in 2002, we didn't have a registered ISP in the country. We had to allow, if I'm not wrong, was it Nadia? They had to allow Nadia to operate just for the sake of providing internet services to the government agencies and to the people in this country. And in 2002, that's where it all started. They figured a way out on how to put a policy in place for the ISPs and how to make sure that the ISPs are legally bound to the government, and if something goes wrong, what is the government's responsibility to the ISPs, and what sort of penalties would there be applied to the ISPs. So talking about IDNs and ccTLDs, in this session we have 3 people. One of them is physically present here. On the agenda you got Nadia Hashemi from Ministry of Communications and IT, but unfortunately she couldn't make it here, and we have Nadia's colleague, Mr. Khalil Kabirzoy from Ministry of Communications and IT, and I request Mr. Khalil Kabirzoy to please come up on the stage before I call on the second panel member. Please. We have 2 participants who are connected online through the WebEx remote session. One of them is Dr. Sarmad Hussain, IDN Programs Director at ICANN. Can you hear me, Dr. Sarmad Hussain?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you very clearly. Thank you for being here today. The next participant is Bart. Bart, are you there? We get your name, but can you hear us? Right, no problem. We'll wait for Bart until he shows up in a few minutes. So I'll pass the floor over to Mr. Khalil Kabirzoy. He will brief us on the IDNs or the ccTLDs. What sort of challenges did Afghanistan face right in the beginning, 2002? What sort of problems were there? What sort of technical problems were there? What sort of financial problems were there? And what sort of support did they get from other AF? How many third level domain, how many second level domain, and at what stage are they now with the IDNs and ccTLDs? So he'll brief us on all of this before we move on to Dr. Sarmad Hussain. Mr. Khalil.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Khalil Rahman Kabirzoy. I'm head of PKI. Today came by the representative of my colleague Nadia Hashemi. She's a general manager of .af. I want to talk about the AFGNIC Afghanistan Network Information Center. That center or this department was established in 2003 with the support of on the time of UNDP. Still, we have 8,000 domain registered under the .af domain, and also in this 8,000 domains, 4,772,000 domains or the name of .af, and the others, the rest of that is .com, .edu, .org, .net, .af. We have registered with us in our department, our all income or revenue from this way, we have the 2,227 27 lakh dollars. And for the IDN domain name, a few months back, we have sent some questionnaires to all ministries to for the will give the ideas of those people for the IDN of .af for the AF or Afghan or just AF for our local language. Therefore, we want to send the maktub to all ministries for the question like questionnaires. We collect their ideas. After that, we will be decided. And for the price of data, from long time we have focus on that to increase the price of .app from $50 to $20. .app and .edu.com, .org.com, .app for $10. We talk with top level management also, and this is the we also recommend that for the top level management of MCIT to discuss about that to increase the price of domains under the .app domains. Thank you, sir.
Right, so here we figured out that there are about 8,000 registered domains and about 4,700 of them are under .af, and the rest, which is just about 3,300, goes under .edu, .org, and those other third-level domain. We started off in 2003, and initially it was supported by UN because there was no internal funds available within the ministry. So the first question from my side would be that what challenges did you guys face at the Ministry of Communications and IT to start off with the .af? Apart from fund availability, was there any technical capacity that you guys were in need of back in 2003, but we did not really have that technical capacity? I'm sure there was. So if you could please elaborate on the technical capacity that existed in 2003, and how would you compare the technical capacity of 2003 and 2017? What are the differences?
I'm going to give the question from 2003. Still, we have some technical problem like with now COCA is our technical support from this is in the Australia, but we want to have internal here in the Ministry of Communication. We have all those servers for the hosting, for all this technical support we want to bring from COCA to the Ministry of Communication. Here, therefore, we talk with top level domain management, but sometimes we obstacle problem is the problem of budget. Sometimes we face with budget problem.
All right, thank you, Mr. Khalil Kabizori. I'll now go to the online participants where we have Dr. Sarmad Hussain. I'm sure he has shared his presentation with our colleagues here. The floor is all yours, Dr. Sarmad Hussain. If you could please start off with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I request my slides to be uploaded?
Yes, we can see your slides, Dr. Sarmad Hussain.
Your slides are showing. You just have to double click and start the preview, sir.
And maximize it or press F5 or slideshow.
Yeah, you have shared your screen with us.
I'm sorry. So are you saying that you can see the slides, or do I need to share the slides?
Yeah. We are seeing your computer screen, so you have shared your slides with, you can just full screen your...
No, I think that the screen is for Bart, probably not my screen.
Okay, so you can also share your screen, Dr. Sarmad.
Okay, and share my screen. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for giving me the floor and giving me the opportunity to speak at IGF in Afghanistan. I am going to give an overview of IDN program at ICANN, and let's get started with that. So my presentation is largely going to focus on IDNs at the top level, which is the focus of work at ICANN, and most of my presentation is going to focus on IDN TLD program, which is being undertaken for some years. In addition to that, I will very quickly share update on the IDN ccTLD fast track process and also a quick update on the work we do at ICANN on second level through reference level LGRs and the IDN implementation guidelines. So let's get the presentation started. We're all, of course, very familiar with what a domain name is. And just as a background, here's an example of a domain name, www.cafe.com. And normally a domain name is separated into multiple labels. And this shows examples of three labels. .com is normally referred to as the top level domain label. Cafe is normally referred to as the second level domain label, and www is a third level domain label. And we've had certain rules and regulations on how these labels can be formed from the ASCII days. And those rules required that the label must be comprised of either letters A through Z or digits 0 through 9 or the hyphen, and no other characters could come in a label. In addition, the top level domain name labels have always been more special. And there's been a letter principle or a letter restriction on top level domains, meaning that top level domain could only be formed by letters A through Z and not digits or hyphen. So when the internationalized domain names came across, which allowed other scripts to be used. So for example, here you could see a Thai domain name. The question came that how would that restriction on top level domain, uh, just comprising of letters, be translated into these other scripts which were now being brought online. And therefore, ICANN started investigating how that would be made possible and started what was called the IDN TLD program. And that program has now, basically ICANN reached out to the community, and the community said that the solution to address that problem was to go back and form community-based panels for each of the scripts which uh, can be brought online, and let the community which is using the script define the rules on how that script will be used to form the TLD. So let the community define the letter principle, so to speak. Um, and the process which the community finalized was that there will be community-based panels called generation panels, and the generation panels will work on their respective scripts. And then once they've developed a proposal for their script, they will hand it over to ICANN, which hosts an integration panel. And the integration panel will ensure that the procedures which have been set out, or the criteria which have been set out to develop these proposals, have been met, both linguistic as well as um, technical criteria. And if the criteria is met, then these rules are integrated into the top level uh, domain name rules, or label generation rules as we call them. Or if there are any technical or other deficiencies, of course, integration panel will communicate that back to the generation panel, and the generation panel will update the proposal and send it back for integration. So that's a process we've been following. In essence, these community-based generation panels have to devise or answer three things. First, what are the code points which are permissible to develop label generation rules? permissible in label generation rules for devising labels. In addition, some of these code points can be viewed by the community as confusable or similar to each other, and so the community needs to define variant characters, and I'll give some examples in the next slide, and also define some other additional restrictions at label level which may come across. So moving on to some concrete cases. So one of the first panels which came together was the Arabic script generation panel, which started its work based on the Unicode standard and the IDNA 2008 protocol, which is based on the Unicode standard. And they started with these code points, which you can see in yellow. As you can see that they reviewed all the code points and then included only a subset of these code points uh, based on the criteria which was set by the community for inclusion. And then obviously said some of these code points may not be needed at this point at least. And you can see those code points as crossed out on the screen. So devising the repertoire was the first step. In addition, the generation panel had to devise variants. This is an example of a variant. So on the screen on the left, you can see there are two calves. The red calf, which is uh, used for Arabic language, and then there's a green circle calf, which is used for some of the other languages in South Asia, for example. So this calf is used for Pashto, for Urdu, for Persian. Um, and if we write using these calves, the word Kabul on the right, you would see that the way these two calves join to uh, find to make the word, you will see that each of those two words look exactly the same, even using the red calf or the green calf. And therefore, a native speaker will not be able to determine whether these two labels are different or not. So to make sure that this system can be used securely, the Arabic script generation panel has made sure that the two calves are defined as variants of each other. Um, just to give an example of how the label level rules would work, of course, one can, the example here is label Calcutta, which is written in Arabic script. It's a name of a city in India. And you can see that it can be formed by the two calves, the two green calves or the two red calves, but it can also be formed by mixing the green and red calves. But to type the label in which you have a mixed green and red calf, you would have to switch the keyboard in the middle of typing this label, which means that this label, of course, is not usable. Uh, Therefore, for example, Arabic script generation panel devised a rule which said that you could choose single set of calves, and if that's the case, then the label is valid. But when you mix calves, that label should not be valid, for example. So that those are some of the examples of the work which actually needed to be done to devise these rules. And as a next step, these rules have to be formulated in a formalism which has been defined by Internet Engineering Task Force as RFC 7940. And the reason we want to encode all this information in this formalism is so that these definitions of label generation rules can be passed directly by machines. And you don't need manual interpretation to see how they are used. And then, in addition to that, we've also devised um, an online tool which is available through the URL which is shared. You can go to that tool and you can create label generation rules in this format, RFC 7940, or you can also use one of these label generation rules and uh, you load that up, and then you can input a label as an example given on the right, and it would use the label generation rules to tell you whether the label is valid or not, and if it is valid, if it has variants, and if it has variants, then which of those variants are good and which of those variants are should be blocked and not usable. This tool, of course, is also available with an open license for anybody to download and install. And there is a user guide available online. which also gives the details of username, password, and how to access this tool. Um, and this work is not limited to Arabic script. So this work is being done for all scripts across the globe, being facilitated by ICANN. There are 7 script communities which have completed their work: Arabic, Armenian, Ethiopic, Georgian, Khmer, Lao, and Thai are those communities which have finished their work. There are other communities which are in progress, and as you can see, some of them are um, further ahead in the process, and some of them are still waiting to be formed. But in total, we are anticipating to devise rules for 28 different scripts through 19 different panels, community-based panels, to allow for this, uh, define this letter principle and variant analysis for the scripts across the world to allow them to be used in IDNs for the top level. So how is all this obviously used? Um, Eventually, what we want to do is allow for top-level domains in multiple scripts. This is already in progress. Currently, obviously, this is all done manually. Um, this shows an example of all the country codes in different scripts and languages which have been successfully evaluated to date. 57 ccTLDs have been successfully evaluated, representing 39 countries and territories. And of course, we look forward to the application from Afghanistan as well. Moving onwards, we do also do a little, do some work at the second level. We are currently developing reference label generation rules or IDN tables for the second level as well, in addition to the top level or root zone. You can see some of the languages which have been, for which the LGRs have been developed. We are also working on languages using Arabic script, including languages spoken in Afghanistan, Pashto and Dari. If you're interested in participating in those efforts, please let us know. And in addition, finally, we also work with the community to develop guidelines and on practices and policies to make sure that IDNs, when they're used at the second level, they're used in a way that they minimize consumer confusion. Um, these guidelines are updated from time to time, and they were recently updated, and they're currently available for public comment. The link is given on the slide. We would love to hear back from your views on these updated guidelines as these are finalized. So as you can see, there is a lot of work we do, which is completely driven by the community, and one of the reasons to come to and present at this IGF in Afghanistan was to reach out to all of you to see if any of you is interested to getting involved with us to work on the, the languages which are spoken in Afghanistan. You can connect with us at multiple levels. You can join one of our working groups or panels and contribute your time and effort, volunteer for those panels for the languages and scripts which you use. You can also obviously comment on what we publish on for public comment and let us know your views on it. Or you could just sign up on one of our email lists and just see what's happening with the IDN program. So all the information and the projects we do are available at icann.org/IDN, and you can connect with us at any time by emailing at idnprogram@icann.org. So thank you very much for listening patiently, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarmad Hussain, for your nice presentation. And I'm sure there are questions popping up in this hall here that how is ICANN going to support the IDNs? I'm sure the localization that you covered in 2 of your slides, that is possibly going to be one of the questions. And the other question is probably going to be that are there any entities in Afghanistan, apart from the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology, that is working with ICANN and with other organizations in order to make sure that the IDNs do happen here locally in Afghanistan? But before we move on, we're going to go to our next participant who's online. It is Bart Boswinkel, if I've not mispronounced it. Are you there, Bart? Bart. Bart, are you there, Bart?
I think we cannot hear him.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Great, great. I found the button. I'll share my.
We are seeing your screen too, Bart. Can you just maximize?
I will adjust it. So now you have a nice screen.
Yeah.
Of this
And
one.
could everyone else please mute their mics so we can just hear what's Bart saying?
Okay, thank you. Apologies for the mishap. This is the first time I use WebEx. Normally we use another tool. So please bear with me. So let me introduce myself. I will not go into technicalities, etc. I am ICANN staff as Sarmad, and Sarmad and I work together very closely. I'll introduce you to the country code name supporting organizations, of which the Afghanistan registry is a member. So let me check. This doesn't work either. Next slide. There it is. So I'll talk about the country code name supporting organization for a little bit. But to sketch, to provide some context, besides the country code name supporting organizations, there are two other supporting organizations within the ICANN framework. And say the difference between, for example, the supporting organizations and the advisory committees is that the supporting organizations do develop policy. And so the ccNSO will develop policy for ccTLDs or related to ccTLDs, to put it in a better way. One of the policies and one of the more policy or related events was the development of the IDN ccTLD policy and the fast track process, to which Sarmad already alluded to, and it informed you that, say, to date 57 IDN ccTLDs have successfully passed the application. So that's a bit of the context of the ccNSO within the ICANN umbrella. Besides the ccNSO, there are other organizations which are relevant for ccTLDs, two of which are the the regional organizations in Asia and Europe, of which the Afghanistan registry is a member as well. So what makes the ccNSO so interesting to the ccTLD community? So first of all, it's dealing with policy development work and related work. As I said, the IDN ccTLD fast track in IDN policy was one, but also around the delegation and work around the delegation and redelegation of ccTLDs, and in the near future around the retirement of ccTLDs and review mechanisms. So the latter one, the upcoming PDP, has recently been initiated. So there will be a call for volunteers and including going out to the Afghanistan registry. So if they're interested, they're kindly invited to participate. So that's the policy related work. More importantly, to date, is that the ccNSO provides a platform for information sharing and networking. And there are effectively two events, and this is this is similar to what is happening in the regional organizations in a way. There are two events. If you look for exchange of information, it's first of all the meeting days, and I will go a little bit into the type of topics they will be discussing at meeting days, and what is called Tech Day. Tech Day is focused on operational and technical experiences of top-level domains, including ccTLDs. And say at the last meeting in Copenhagen, there were around about 200 people attending, or 150 people attending the meeting days, and about 160, 170 people attending Tech Day. So these are, if you would go to an ICANN meeting, there are 3 days, 3 full days for ccTLDs. Finally, and this is again a role of the ccNSO, it is to represent the interest of the community, the ccTLD community, in the ICANN ecosystem. As I said, there are 2 other supporting organizations. In addition, there are several advisory committees, including the Governmental Advisory Committee, and we organize the ccNSO organizes the interaction with the ICANN board and these other SOs and ACs. And there are the new structures as a result of the IANA transition, say in October. The most important one from the CEC perspective is probably the Customer Standing Committee, which is replacing the oversight from the US government with respect to how the IANA naming function is performed by ICANN. And there are 2 other, or there is 1 other committee, what is called the Root Zone Evaluation and Review Committee. And then there is this whole new idea of empowered community, putting accountability in place. And the ccNSO is part of that empowered community and is one of the decisional participants. So through the ccNSO, the new accountability mechanisms are relevant for ccTLDs. About the ccNSO itself, if you would look at it, say there are effectively, it's a 2-tiered structure. So it's members and councillors. To date, 161 ccTLDs are members of the ccNSO. That's per March 2017. The latest member is .dk from Denmark. You can see the geographic spread of the membership, and I should note that unfortunately to date, IDN ccTLDs cannot be members, as you can see, and but IDN ccTLDs and other non-members of the ccNSO are invited to participate, and the ccNSO within the ICANN umbrella is the point of contact and point of accountability for ccTLDs, even if there are non-members. To become member, and as I said, .af is already a member. ccTLD managers have agreed in writing to be members of the ccNSO. There is no fee attached. The only thing that they are committed to is to implement policies, if any, and to date there haven't been any policy they need to abide by. So the ccNSO Council, as I said, the 2-tiered structure. The ccNSO Council is 18 members, 3 from all the ICANN geographic regions. So that's Europe, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, North America, and Asian Pacific, and 3 non-com appointees. And that's a special group of non-ccTLD related councillors. To date, just recently in Copenhagen, Katrina Sataki from the Latvian registry has been reappointed as chair, and we have two vice chairs, Byron Holland and Demi Getsko. And as you can see, they are annually appointed. All regional organizations, so including APTLD and Center, are observers, and there are two liaisons, one from the at-large advisory committee, so ALAC, and one from the ccNSO Council. About the ccNSO itself, if you would look at the roles and functions of the ccNSO members and council, as I said, I've listed them in the first slide effectively. They are defined by the ICANN in the ICANN bylaws in Article 10, and more in depth in the internal voluntary rules of the ccNSO and the ccNSO guidelines. And this is also the basic documentation of accountability and the way the ccNSO works itself. It's some parts are very detailed, so if you are interested, have a look at these guidelines and at the bylaws at your leisure. So, roles of the ccNSO members. So, most importantly, I would say the role of the ccNSO members is a final vote on the ccNSO policy development recommendations. It is the safeguard for the ccTLD community in respect to policies developed through the ccNSO. So they will have the ultimate voice in whether a policy when it's developed is relevant for them. And if need be, and to date, and that's probably the second priority, and based on this ccNSO policy development role, is they will have a final vote on any other council resolutions. To date, it's never happened, but they do have a role in that respect. The third, and this is again defined in the ICANN bylaws, the third role of the members themselves is they elect the ccTLD managers on the ccNSO councils. As you may recall, say there are 15 members appointed by the ccTLDs, and they nominate 2 of the ICANN board members on seat 11 and 12. Just recently, Chris Despain has been renominated for his third and final term, and upcoming summer, the second ICANN board member, Mike Silber from South Africa, will need to be or somebody else will need to be elected as Mike's terms or final term ends in 2018. So board members can only serve for 3 terms. And finally, and this is probably, say, from a practical point of view, the most important role for ccTLDs is that they participate in the work of the ccNSO as defined by the ccTLD managers themselves. The role of the council, again, there are 2 main categories. Administrative role of the council, it's responsible for managing the policy development process, managing the board members nomination, and it appoints chairs and vice chairs of the ccNSO, and it has what is called a representation role. It manages and this is representation of the ccTLD community at large. So it's a derived power, one could say. It manages the affairs of the ccNSO in, say, ranging from appointing members to working groups to initiating new working groups and submitting statements, etc., to the ICANN board, and it represents the ccNSO to the board and other SOs and AC, and it's the point of contact from the ccNSO and of the ccNSO as a decisional participant in the new structures. So the role of the that was the role of the councillors. Now, looking at the ccNSO, how do they conduct their business? And so hence most of it is done through meetings, either in person, so at ICANN meetings, or through conference calls, etc. So the council meets almost every month, conference calls face-to-face at ICANN meeting. There is the ccNSO members meeting days, which is face-to-face 2 days event. As said, a diversity of topics presented and formats. It ranges from presentations on, say, what Sarmad just did on IDNs and the changes there to ccTLD news and to the relationship between ICANN and ccTLDs. Then there is Tech Day. Again, this is a full day event. Again, a diversity of technical topics, presenters and formats. Again, these are more the technical operational topics which are discussed. And then there are the working group meetings. These are, we try to arrange meetings at face-to-face meetings in ICANN, but also work through conference calls, so you do not need to be participate in person at these working groups. And as for all these meetings, the council meetings, the members meeting, tech day, and the working group meetings, remote participation is always possible. So if you want to know more about it, included are some background materials, and this concludes my presentation. Back to you.
Thank you, Bart, for the detailed presentation. We have about 10 minutes for Q&A, and based on the talk by Mr. Khalil Kabirzai and Dr. Sarmad Hussain and Bart, I now open the floor to all of you for questions and answers. Okay, I have a question from Mr. Khalil Kabirzai, who is not really managing .if, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to answer these questions that relates to .if, but since he is the member or staff working for the Ministry of Communications and IT, so I believe he will have the information. Some people working for the government agencies, they often ask me how secure is our website if it's being hosted in the server in the National Data Center of Afghanistan. How secure is it? It's not just the government agencies, but it's also the private sector. If they have hosted their website and it's a third level domain, which is .af, let's say companies called XYZ, XYZ.af, and that's being hosted locally here within the National Data Center. How secure is it? That's the question. And what measures are taken by the Ministry of Communications and IT in order to make sure the security of not just the website, but the data and all those other services that are running within the data center?
Thank you, dear. I'm working the Ministry of Information System Security and the Ministry of Innovation Directorate is a separate directorate, but I will tell you that and a few days back when some website should be hacked, this was not so all of the mistake of the Ministry of Communication, because when we sign or agree with ministry, other ministries, we have a own design of all websites in our CMS. But some ministries, they have a own website they make by your own in the open source, like or the another WordPress like this, and they bring it and host it here and MDC. This is the problem. This is the issues, and also we have some. It is agree with that. We have a problem in our data center, but the main problem is that some people they violate from the agreement which has with MCIT and those ministries, because we have one platform to make all the websites in the one platform, but some ministries, some other bureau, they bring their own website and they host here. They have some vulnerability, therefore they should be hacked. And nowadays we have another solution for to migrate our data center from we allocate the budget for that to increase or our to migrate our all service servers, or we will be install or configure the IDs, IPs, all those for our data center.
Thank you, Mr. Khalil Kabir, for the explanation. Apart from the measures that is taken by the Ministry of Communications and IT in order to make sure that all these services are safe and secure, what would you suggest as a security expert and as a staff within the ministry for the private sector and for the government agencies? What sort of security measures do they have to take from their end, apart from you taking those security measures? What do they have to do from their end in order to make sure that their website, their data, and whatever services that are being hosted within the national data center are safe to a certain level?
Thank you. We all know the security is belong to the every person to secure their data or their computers or servers. For the Ministry of Communication, we have a department for the cyber awareness. We have also awareness for that cyber threat or cyber incident. Also, it is my advice that for the people or internet user to secure their computers or confidential data and
Right, thank you. One last question from me, and we have few more new participants who may have questions. I don't know, does anyone have any question related to IDNs and ccTLDs here? I know you've all missed the presentation by Khalil Kabir, so you've missed the presentation by Dr. Sarmad Hussain and Bart. So you don't know what's been covered in this session, but generally, when you hear IDNs and ccTLDs, what worries you? And what question does pop out in your mind?
Thank you, Mr. Kabir, for attending the session. Specifically, the .af that you are giving us the domain for. Now, I have a website, and I wonder what kind of security measures are you providing me as the owner of the website?
Thank you, Mr. Azizi. I think this question was just covered 2 minutes ago,
yes.
but I'll again ask Mr. Khalil Kabir, request Mr. Khalil Kabir to please reply to Mr. Azizi's question, but very short and brief.
Yeah, Mr. Azizi knows I'm not member of the TF, but just I'm work in the department in the different field. But for the website security, .af have its responsibility of just it is a registrar. Just this department register the .af. But if the hosting is the another private company, the security will belong to that company. But just .gov or .af, it belong to our ministry or data center. And I also before that I talk about the security of our data center. We will be migrate all our system, and now we allocate the budget for that. We working on that for new policy, new procedures for the security of the data center. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Khalil Kabir, you mentioned something about the charges, the payment that is being done by the government agencies and the private sector and personal website that you mentioned earlier, that you personally have a website, so you need to do a payment in order to make that live. And there's $50 of payment for a second level and 30 or 20, if I've not forgotten, for the third layer. Now, the process in the government works as such that all that money goes to the Ministry of Finance, and it doesn't come to the Ministry of Communications and IT's funding or budget. So end of the year, all the money that's been paid towards the .af in order to make all those websites and services available, that goes to Ministry of Finance, and it doesn't come to Ministry of Communications and IT. Is there any process, any procedure that Ministry of Communications and IT can work on in order to make sure that that money that they make, it is their own money and it doesn't belong to Ministry of Finance? So that money should be redirected somehow to the budget of Ministry of Communications and IT, so you can think of your sustainability in the long run. Have you guys ever thought of that? Is there any work underway?
Thank you. As you know, for a long time, from 2-3 years back, on that time, Mr. Wafa was our director. On that time, we focused on that to increase the .af domain price. But we can convince the top level management, because we focus on that lots of time to increase the that price from $50 to $20. If we increase the price, we will have lots of customer about that. But the top level management or the army or another related department, they don't accept that with us to increase the price. But we focus on that from 2-3 years back. We have a focus on that to increase the price of domain .af domain from $50 to $20, or also from .edu.a from $20 to $10. But this is the problem. Our top level management, they don't agree with us about that price.
Right, great. Before we call it off, I'll go back to our online participants. We have Jogatuso, we have Ania, we have Ahmed Wali, and obviously we have Bart and we have Dr. Sarmad Hussain, who did present this afternoon. Those people online, are there any questions related to IDNs and ccTLDs or this session in particular?
You said that they are not the responsible people. I mean, the management is not accepting the prices. What are their reasons? Why they are not accepting it? Since all the other countries, like India, for example,
if they said, like, if we increase the price, it will be decrease. It will be loss for the government, for the incoming of the government. But
that's the problem. Yes?
Yeah, this is a problem. But we focus on that. If we decrease the price, we have a lot of customer. If the person who register one website for ourselves, he
Yes.
can make 2-3 websites for yourself.
Yes.
But
I raised this question because India used the vice versa of this idea. They used .in so that they decrease the price so that everyone should use the .in .af.
Yeah, for the IN we
so
also.
why you are not doing that?
Yeah, for IN we also have a questionnaire sent to all the ministries for the IDN. You means IDN? IN, India, IN, India. We focus on that for the top level management, but this is a problem. Yeah.
There's one thing that we don't have the cashback system in Afghanistan. When you generate profit, that's a different thing. But when you give it to the Ministry of Finance, they don't give it back to you for your promotion or for your upgrades, for your capacity building. In terms of IN, that's a good question. In India, look at the penetration. If we say like 10% of Indian population is using internet, you're talking about 120 million people. But in Afghanistan, if I say like 10% of our population is using internet, it will be only 3 million people. Still, the concept of cashback system doesn't exist in the country. I hope we get it soon and solve these issues.
Yes, even on a personal level, I have a personal website. I host it with a company, but I like to have my own website, personal website, beside my company's other like blogs, etc. All of them are .com because I cannot afford .af. That's it. I cannot afford.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Bart, is there any closing remarks by yourself?
Oh yeah, Bart left. So we have
Right. That's it for today. Thank you all for being here, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good evening.